the entire AFC playoffs. The first-round bye would be clinched if the Chiefs lose on Sunday Night Football and somehow the Browns pull off the upset. Kim Jones is in the Browns locker room.
Thanks, Rich. This week, Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry found themselves answering anonymous sources who said that the players have told them, "Come get me," meaning out of Cleveland. Jarvis said he never said that. Odell said this, "I'm going to be here. This is too special to leave." When I talked to Odell this week, he indicated to me winning is what he wants most. He added, winning fixes everything. Let's take a look back at the Browns' biggest win this season, Week 4 in Baltimore against those Ravens. Set to music.
Two young quarterbacks in the spotlight.
Every game matters, especially when it's a divisional opponent.
The Browns on a long drive grab a touchdown lead. Oh, Lamar Jackson with a spectacular job. And it's Landry, big play. There were 4 missed tackles by the Ravens. Big job! He's got a hat trick! And Lamar Jackson's long day continued. First interception of the season. 2 throws in a row picked off. The Browns are winners in Baltimore. I would have never guessed this outcome.
Never.
And then on the heels of the Monday night win against the Jets that put the Browns above 500 for the only time this year and put the Ravens at 500, after which, though, they've ripped off 10 straight wins. So let's figure out this Ravens 10-game win streak and what it means, et cetera, so on and so forth. Mooch, Play with Abandon, presented by Wrangler, sir.
Oh, we're going to talk about this with abandon, all right? And so you know what? I'm going to let you go first because you have an XO curve. Okay. How did the Ravens, after 2 losses and a Browns beatdown, turn their season around with 10 wins?
I think you have to look at the nature of their losses, and specifically the loss against Cleveland. If you go back and watch that game and you look at the early drives, there was a negative play on every early drive. Here, take away his first receiver, they get a big sack, they get behind the sticks. Okay, now in their second drive, 3rd down, they're going to come after him with a blitz 0 here. Lamar doesn't get the ball out of his hands. Once again, we get a big sack and get them off the field. Next drive, it was Lamar Jackson who missed a wide open receiver on 3rd down, which created them getting off the field. And then this was their first drive of the second half. They're driving, they fumble, and then after those drives, they found themselves down by 2 touchdowns.
Right.
The rest of that game, they threw the ball 21 times. They ran the ball 5 times. And that, to me, is what has changed. When you look at the rest of the season, they have not been behind by more than 7 points at any point in time in these last 10 games. And that, to me, is the key for this team. If we can play the way we play, run the football, play action, they have a chance to win and be in every football game. They get behind the sticks or they get behind by a couple touchdowns, it changes the way they play.
And you do 1 or 2 things to find success. You have to work on and fix your weakness, or you cover your weakness. And the Ravens have said, let's make sure we cover this weakness. And they jump out and get early lead on every team since those 2 weeks. And you know what else they started saying? I think they started saying, because I think they were trying to play him more in the pocket then and do more simple things with him. They said, forget this. We have to go. We have to let him run the ball. And ever since then, they've been taking off. They was up New England 17-0. They were up on Cincinnati 28-3. Houston 34-0. And the Rams 21-3. They're playing from the head, not from behind.
Guys, we talk a lot about Lamar Jackson and this offense because it's so unique and it's so dynamic. We don't talk about their defense. And the Browns put a 40-burger on these guys, and Baker Mayfield had 342 yards passing, and they had, with Nick Chubb, 3 touchdowns, 192 yards rushing. I mean, it was a beatdown. But we're going to go to Mooch's Minute a little bit later, and I'm going to show you how this defense is very much improved and maybe responsible
That's
for the
pretty
10
good,
games.
Coach.
And Adam Gase, you know what? He's on the move.
Richmond, Odell Beckham said this week, I'll be here regarding his status for the Cleveland Browns for the 2020 season. There was good reason for that. My understanding is in conversations with Browns personnel, with general manager John Dorsey, they have told him, we do not plan to trade you. We want you around. We did this deal not just for this year, but going forward. So when Odell Beckham said he was going to be here, it was not just to end this story. It was because he had a lot of reason to believe that the Browns don't want him going anywhere and do not plan to make it happen, which, of course, brings up the question, Michael Irvin, should the Browns move on from Odell?
Ian, these kind of guys, as they say, do not just grow on trees. Absolutely not. You do not move on from this talent of a man named Odell Beckham Jr. He's only one of 3 guys that have had 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns in his first 3 seasons. Folks, the guy's just tired of losing. He's 39 and 57 in those years. He just wants to win football games, and that's just taken a little longer than he expected. Now let's go to Tom Pelissero.
Michael, Le'Veon Bell said this week that he's happy with the Jets, even though it's hard to imagine he's really happy with the numbers he's put up after his season away. A career 3.3 yards per rush and 0 100-yard rushing games on a 5-9 Jets team that today hosts Bell's old team, the Steelers, who remain in control of the AFC's last playoff spot. Multiple members of the Jets organization told me Bell was no different this week than any other week, and several Steelers veterans said there's no bad blood on their end, even though Bell skipped all last season after turning down some lucrative offers to stay in Pittsburgh. Bell got the structure he wanted from the Jets on a contract that owes him another $13 million fully guaranteed in 2020. Mooch, was it a mistake for Le'Veon to leave Pittsburgh?
Yeah, Tom, my first thought was, it's a mistake to turn down, sit on the couch and bypass $14 million. He had it pretty good over there in Pittsburgh. He led the league for 4 years with scrimmage yards at 130 a game, and that's considerably dropped now to 83. He left a good team, a playoff team, and has only rushed for 676 yards. That's the worst 13-game stretch he's had. But you know what? On the other hand, this is a new beginning for Lev Bell. He's with a new team, a young team. They have a good defense. They have a good young quarterback. So he's got to make his decision, the right one, so time will tell. And now let me send it over to Tiffany Blackman in the locker room of the Titans.
Thanks, Mooch. When I spoke with Saints defensive end Cam Jordan, he told me when he watches film, he can see the spark that Ryan Tannehill has brought to this Titans offense. Tannehill took over a 2-4 team, and now they have a shot to make the playoffs after winning 6 of his 8 starts. Tannehill has been one of the most effective play-action passers this season, but we'll see how much that's affected today with Derrick Henry's injury. Now, as for the other quarterback in this game, Kurt, what separates Drew Brees from the other greats?
Well, I tell you what, Tiffany, I believe there are 2 things that Drew Brees does that matches anybody that's ever played this game, the history of our game. The first is the ability to process what he sees after the snap, to know what a defense is doing, to be able to manipulate the defense and understand where his guys are, to get from his first read to his 4th read to his 5th read. Nobody does it better than Drew Brees. And the second thing is accuracy. I mean, we saw that on Monday night when he set the all-time record for a single game. He also owns the all-time record in the history of our game. I used to argue with my kids that I was the most accurate quarterback in NFL history, finished my career number 2 all time. But I found out Drew Brees can throw 320 consecutive incompletions and still have a higher
kindness, and this one in particular involves Colts cornerback Kenny Moore, who's followed a winding path to Indianapolis. A former undrafted free agent from Valdosta State, cut by the Patriots, claimed by the Colts, and he's now one of the team's best defensive players, albeit inactive today. Moore's path took a dramatic turn in Indy as one heroic act changed the lives of a kid, his dog, and potentially thousands more.
Today I'm going to see an old friend.
And it's Kenny Moore again!
This is the craziest thing that has ever happened to me.
Growing up in England, running was always my biggest thing. I was the best runner at school, so that was one of my big passions.
As we entered into those teenage years, you could start to see some changes.
Started to make the wrong friends who were into the wrong things. Depression really started when I was 14 years old.
We tried everything. Therapists, forced discipline, changes of schools. But what is it that's going to help him feel better about himself?
It's hard for a person to accept himself that he might have an addiction problem. I did attempt once or twice to basically end it. Yeah.
You don't know if, well, you just don't know if your son's going to come home.